Recently, I've been feeling nostalgic for a lot of older Call of Duty games, but in particular Black Ops 2, and I wanted to test if in 2026 you could even play this game's multiplayer. Now, Black Ops 2 has been notorious for being the most unplayable Call of Duty multiplayer for years now due to how many hackers run rampant on the game. However, I tried to find a game just the other day and I couldn't even find a lobby. So this game has gone from being unplayable to just outright dead. Once this happened, it made me realize that we can never experience Black Ops 2's multiplayer ever again, and it's really depressing. The only way you can play this game's multiplayer now is through custom games, which honestly playing against bots just doesn't hit the same. If you haven't noticed already, the background gameplay is literally just me against bots in a custom game. I really wish I had some gameplay or something from back in the day, or even like pictures or screenshots, but I don't have anything other than the hardened edition I picked up on launch day. I don't even have access to my original account anymore. That was back on the PS3. When the next generation of consoles came out, I migrated over to the Xbox One for the exclusivity of COD, which lasted a year. Thankfully, I still have so many memories attached to this game though. This was the first year of COD that I was fully invested into all of the marketing for. I remember watching the original reveal trailer for the game. I remember watching the multiplayer reveal trailer as well. That one's the most iconic to me. It's the one where the guy's on top of the turbine and he's like running along and it shows off like the attachments and stuff, and then he throws the shock charge at the guy and shoots him. I also remember pre-ordering the hardened edition from Game, like an actual game store, and Black Ops 2 was all I could think about from that day onwards, right up until the launch. The marketing for this game was insane. There were TV spots and trailers almost everywhere you looked. You couldn't escape Black Ops 2. And they even had this like celebrity trailer for the game as well, which had the likes of Robert Downey Jr. in it. The closest thing we get to that nowadays is Jake Paul. I remember on launch day as well, after finishing school, my granddad took me to pick up the game, and that car ride home was agonizing because all I wanted to do was go home, unbox the game, and just play it all night long. But when the game finally came out, it was all me and my friends would talk about at school. Although I'd play this game pretty much exclusively on my own, I think it was because everyone else was on 360 at the time. It didn't really bother me though, I was just enjoying the game regardless. See, the funny thing about Black Ops 2 is that I'm almost certain this was the last COD game that I never really stopped playing throughout the entire life cycle. I stuck with this game for all the DLC because the DLC run was just generational. I don't think there was a single miss in all of the DLC maps. There were definitely some weaker maps in the DLC, like say Pod, for example. I don't really have many fond memories of playing Pod, but compared to a lot of the maps we've had in the Call of Duty franchise, this map isn't even bad. It actually makes me laugh thinking about that actually, because Aftermath by today's standards is actually like an A-tier map. Alongside the DLC maps, however, this game was so revolutionary in so many ways that I'm not surprised we could play it for the entire year. This was also back when we didn't need constant updates and patches to keep us interested in the game. It was so much more simple back then. But saying that though, this was also the time when games would launch content complete and wouldn't rely on updates to finish the game. Fun fact actually, if you guys remember, this was the first Call of Duty game to add a DLC gun in the form of the Peacekeeper, which was something we only dreamt of at the time. I remember throughout basically the entirety of Modern Warfare 3, people would be asking for new weapons to be added to the game, and it just wasn't really something that was part of the franchise at the time. Once you had the launch of the game, that was kind of it. This was also the first COD game to add a camo past the gold camo, which would have been diamond. Gold, obviously, you unlock by completing all the challenges on a certain weapon. The game before this, Modern Warfare 3, you just had to get to max level. But this was the first time we really saw an overall progression goal be added to the Call of Duty franchise. What was funny about diamond camo in Black Ops 2 is that this was actually a secret that nobody knew about until you unlocked gold on every gun in that class, which then unlocked diamond on all of those weapons. And of course, once the diamond camo was known to the public, this spawned a lot of clickbait videos on YouTube, such as how to get the diamond C4, which I know I definitely fell for. I know I'm not the only one. Now, this is something that I'm definitely going to be talking about in the future, but this is something that I feel like the COD franchise has been lacking for a long time, and that is the secrecy of a brand new game coming out. We did obviously see something similar to this with Black Ops 7, where if you unlocked all of the mastery camos, so the campaign, multiplayer, zombies, and Warzone camos, you actually end up getting a final camo for that. And this was something that people didn't know about until someone unlocked it, which is very cool to see. But I feel like COD nowadays doesn't really have any secrets about it. It's very much everything gets revealed before the game comes out. So when you're going into the game, you know what to expect. All the weapons, all the maps, all the mechanics. But back in the day, a COD game just used to launch. You'd get a few trailers. There was no beta at the time. There were no blog posts or anything like that. You would just get a 3-minute story trailer, a gameplay trailer, and that was it. You experienced the whole game for yourself. Black Ops 2 was also the first game to introduce the Pick 10 system, which is probably the best creator class system that COD has ever seen, that we haven't actually seen in a COD game since Black Ops 4, so we're talking nearly 8 years. I definitely want to see Pick 10 return in the future. I actually think it needs to return in the future. Funnily enough, actually, it was rumored that this system was supposed to be returning in Modern Warfare 3 2023. Apparently Sledgehammer wanted to introduce this, but Infinity Ward just outright denied it. The only reason that I can think of for them doing this is that they wanted all of the Modern Warfare games to follow the current creator class system. But going back to Black Ops 2, I'm sure there's a lot more innovation that I am missing out on, but these ones that I've spoke about, in my opinion, are the most important ones. If I'm being honest, I think Call of Duty as a franchise peaked with Black Ops 2, and it will never return to that state again. I mean, it's physically impossible for it to. At this time, COD was not even really dominating gaming. It was gaming. I mean, if you owned a console back in 2012, you were playing Black Ops 2, and if somehow you weren't, you were the odd one out. This game was so popular that it was even bigger than gaming, actually. This was around the time that YouTube as a platform really started to take off, and Black Ops 2 was the game that everyone was interested in. Back in 2012, YouTube was not the entertainment juggernaut that it is today. You didn't even really start to see IRL vlogs until a few years later. It was basically entirely a gaming platform where you would go to watch gaming related content, and with the most popular game at the time being Black Ops 2, that was all anyone was watching. I think the most common form of content would have been the live commentaries, so where people are playing a game and they're talking over it. But there wasn't any fancy editing on the videos. I mean, a lot of times there wasn't even any editing at all. The video quality wasn't great because a lot of people didn't have capture cards. A lot of people would just record it on their phones or on a camera. And a lot of times the commentary and gameplay wasn't even that engaging or impressive compared to today's standards, where constant engagement with the audience is necessary to succeed. In the early days of YouTube, as long as you posted daily, people would watch and fall in love with your content. It was so much easier to grow as a creator back then. And I think this is one of the reasons why Vanoss Gaming dominated the space around this time. I personally grew up watching Vanoss, and I still watch him to this day, and the reason I discovered him was through Black Ops 2. Speaking from my personal experience, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that also feel the same way, he was a huge influence on my life. I mean, he's one of the biggest reasons that I'm here today making YouTube videos, because it was all I ever wanted to do, and I would credit that to Vanoss. Watching his videos as a kid, I was fascinated by it. I would argue that he was the one who really set a new standard for what a YouTube video could be, and he fundamentally changed how everyone would approach content creation on YouTube. I see him as one of the creators on the platform like PewDiePie and MrBeast, who sent ripples through the community with their content and really defined what YouTube would become. Vanoss's videos were so unique back then because they were so well edited, almost shot like movies thanks to the theater modes in COD games. And his editing style was so impressive that once again, he set a new standard that everyone would begin to chase, and still do to this day. When Vanoss started to gain traction, he inspired an endless amount of people who wanted to make YouTube videos, like myself. And that's because a lot of creators at the time would just talk into a microphone over gameplay. You could find that pretty much anywhere. But he was creating cinematic masterpieces that still hold up to today's standards. I really find it fascinating how everything is different all this time later since Black Ops 2, almost 14 years. Everything from the COD franchise, gaming in general, YouTube as a platform, and the takeover of short form content. I don't know how Treyarch knew, but the future really was black. I'm not sure if it's just me getting old and grumpy or if it's actually the truth, but things just seem to be getting worse and worse with every year that passes. Gaming has gone from being a passionate hobby and an escape for a lot of people to something corporate and false. It's very rare that a truly special and honest game comes out anymore, something that was made with nothing but passion and isn't trying to please shareholders or retain monthly concurrent players. Everything is just a scheme by people in suits to squeeze every last dollar out of their customers. It also seems that creativity there's just left as well. Like, there's no new types of games that come out anymore. Everything has to follow a formula or a genre. There's nothing that sets a new standard for the space anymore. All we see nowadays are clones of successful games like Fortnite and all the BR clones, Tarkov and all the Extraction clones. Everyone just seems to have given up and they're all chasing trends now, which is just sad, really. The only thing that seems honest and true anymore is single player games, and I love a single player game as much as the next guy, but I really enjoy playing with my friends online a lot more. And that kind of sums up why I wanted to make today's video. I've been thinking a lot recently about gaming as a hobby and kind of how it's just not what it used to be. This is something that I have done almost my entire life. I've always been playing video games and I've always been so passionate about it, but in recent years it just seems like that's dwindled away. And I don't know if this is me growing up and I'm struggling to come to terms with it, or if it's something bigger than myself, if this is something to do with the gaming space as a whole. Maybe it's a mix of both. The gaming space has definitely changed over the past 20 years or so, but it's also down to me getting older as well. But I can't remember the last time I was so captured by a game. Like, I've never really been obsessed with a video game for a long time now. The closest thing I had to that was the launch of Battlefield 6. That was only for one day, but I probably played that game about 8 to 10 hours straight. But since that day, I've not played a single video game for more than 2 or 3 hours. And the only game that I see doing that in the near future is GTA 6. And that's really going to be the litmus test for me if it's a me problem or if it's a gaming problem. If the single most hyped video game of all time can't hook me in, then maybe it's time to find a new hobby. I'm not too sure. Now, to finish off this video, we can't talk about Black Ops 2 without addressing the fact that this game is now officially set in the past. This is something that has obviously been true since 2025 first rolled around, but I think it's actually worth addressing this fact for a second. I mean, I remember being a kid when this game was first coming out and thinking that 2025 was so far away, you know. I would have been around about 10 years old at the time, so a 13-year distance between now and the future is mind-blowing. That's more than my lifetime. But it's something that seems so far away, but also so impossible at the same time. I mean, when you're that age, thinking about that much time elapsing, it doesn't seem, you can't really perceive it, I guess, because of how young you are. And now here we are, over 13 years later since this game's released. 13 more COD games is a fun way to put it, actually. And the one thing I like to do before having an existential crisis about life in general is look at where we thought technology would be 13 years in the future. I mean, a lot of the stuff in Black Ops 2, despite the fact that it's classed as not a futuristic game anymore, is still futuristic tech. I mean, we don't, to my knowledge, have walking tank robots or VTOL warships. This is something that I love to do with games or just media in general that is set in the future from when it's released. I mean, one example is actually Detroit Become Human, which is set in the year 2035. That game's entire premise is about AI and whether robots can have a soul and be alive like people or if they're just machines. If you haven't played that game, I highly recommend it, especially in the current climate. With how AI is essentially infiltrating everything in life at the moment, I think this is a very important game to look at, and I think it's just a brilliant game in general as well. But again, I just think it's fun to look at these games and see the different technologies or things about society in general that do come to fruition and don't, and just sort of point and laugh at ourselves and go, what, we thought this would be a thing in the future. Anyway, at this point, I'm just rambling, so I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you've enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If there's anything you want to see from me content-wise in the future, then just drop a comment down below. But yeah, thank you for watching.